here, and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you my TBR for Phase Out, your TBR Phase 4. So if you don't know, this is a readathon that I host that is loosely based on my TBR game. I will link this round's announcement video in the cards above, but I'm very excited to dive in. I am looking forward to seeing which of the books on my TBR I can get through because I work on phasing out my physical TBR. For round 4, we're going for a run of 7. I played this similar to my game where if I pull a wild, I do have to do a punishment roll at the end for extra prompts, but it does not affect my game in any way, shape, or form, like my TBR game, not my readathon. And those books are optional, but would be ones I would draw from for the rest of my TBR for the month. With that being said, a run of 7 is what I'm looking for, so let's dive in. My first card is a green 8. So green 8 is book you have high hopes for, and I'm going to read Witches of Brooklyn, Spell of Time. This is the 4th book in the Witches of Brooklyn series. I've really loved this series, and we follow Effie, who is learning all about being a witch. I have super high hopes for this one, so hopefully I love it, because I've loved everything else in the series. My second card is a green 8. So as we've established, green 8 is high hopes. So I'm going to go with Destroy the Day this time. This is the 3rd and final book in this trilogy. I've loved basically everything I've read by Bridget Kemmerer, so I go into every book of hers with high hopes, so I see no reason why I wouldn't be going into this one with high hopes as well. Let's see if we can get something besides a green 8 this time. A red 3. Okay. So red 3 is nature on the cover, and for this I'm going to go with The Simple Art of Flying. This is from my book haul Revisited, and it is one I'm planning on getting to in the next few months. It follows parrot POVs. I have a ton of flowers on the cover, and this feels like green grass or trees or leaves, so this definitely features a lot of nature, and I'm very excited to get to it. Next, we have a blue 12. Well, these aren't all going to go together. So blue 12 is odd page number, and I'm going to try this once again. Crowfall. It's 311 pages, I believe. Yep, 311. And I keep trying to stick this on TBRs, and I keep not getting to it. So maybe this is the month that it finally makes one of my solid TBRs, and I actually get all the way through it. Next up, we have a yellow 6. Probably going to use this one. So yellow 6 is TBR Vet, and I'm going to go with If Walls Could Talk. This is a book I've had for the longest. I have 4 left that are on my really old TBR, pre-booktube. This is a cozy mystery, and it says, since she took over her father's construction business, Melanie Turner has made quite a name for herself remodeling historic houses in the San Francisco Bay Area. But now her reputation may be on the line. At her newest renovation project, a rundown Pacific Heights mansion, Mel is visited by the ghost of a colleague who recently met a bad end with power tools. Mel hopes that by tracking down the killer, she can rid herself of the ghostly presence of the murdered man. Mel's only clue is an odd box she discovers inside a wall at the job site. If she can make sense of its mysterious contents, she might be able to nail a killer before she becomes the next construction casualty. So, this sounds interesting. We'll see if it's a cozy mystery series I want to continue. Next, a yellow 7. We're starting to build something here. Put this up. Yellow 7 is no people on the cover. So for this, I'm going to read The Untold Stories. This is one of the few Warriors books I haven't read. I keep trying to put it on TBRs and get to it and haven't. And as you can see, there are absolutely 0 people on this cover. There's cats, but there's not people. So here's hoping this is the month I finally get to this one as well. Next, we're getting somewhere. A 1, a 4, and a 5, and I would be done. Actually, a 4 and a 5, and I would be done. Ooh. Green 2 is Animal on the cover, and for this, I'm going to read Clock of Stars Beyond the Mountain. As you can see, we have some sort of lion-like animal on the cover. Might be a slightly fantastical creature or animal, but it still counts. This is the second book in the Clock of Stars series. I remember really enjoying the first one and have been meaning to pick up the second, so now is as good a time as any. I know it follows sisters who end up traveling to another land and have to try to find out how to get back to their own land with their mom, and they meet a very spoiled prince over there, and it was very, very interesting, and we'll see where things go in book 2. Next, there's my 4. Could this be being nice to me? So the prompt for this is big book. And I'm going with The Revolution of Marina M. This is another book haul revisited video. Big book for me is over 500 pages, and this is well over 700, so it definitely counts as a historical fiction. I don't know too much more about it than that, but it is about time I got to this chunker and see if it is something I'm going to enjoy. Next. Well, I'm going to use this as a 5. So we have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, my run of 7. So with this being a wild, it means I can choose any of the 4 prompts represented by the number 5, and I'm going to go with a red 5, which is paperback, and read The Game Masters of Garden Place. This is another one of my book haul revisiteds. It's following some 6th graders that are hooked on fantasy tabletop role-playing games, and they somehow manage to summon their characters to one of their houses, and things, well, get interesting from there. I got like Jumanji-ish vibes with this one when I was reading the description. I distinctly remember that when I bought it, but it has been on my TBR for years, so we're going to see if I can get through this one as well. So now it's time to deal with this pesky wild. I'm just going to roll this die, and whatever number comes up is how many extra cards I need to pull. And we have a 5, so the first is a wild, so I get to do it again, but it also means I don't have to pick, or it means I have to pick a book. I just can pick any book I want that fulfills a prompt on my board, but I can't use High Hopes because I've already used it twice. So we're going to go with Low Hopes, which is a blue 5, and I'm going to read The Girl with the Dragon Heart. I read the first one, which was The Dragon with the Chocolate Heart, ages ago, thought it was alright, wasn't sure I was going to continue on with the series, but I did own the second book. So I'm going into this with low hopes. That actually worked out really well for me in April because I had to read a book that I had low hopes for, and it ended up making me want to finish the trilogy. So we'll see if this one has the same effect. My next is a red 2. So red 2 is disability or mental health rep, and I'm going to go with Knight of Dangers. There is a character in this series who is missing a leg and has like a prosthetic leg that they can take on and off. So that would definitely give me a disability rep in this book. They are not one of the main characters, but they are a side character, and they have featured heavily in the last 2 books, so I don't see a reason why I wouldn't see a lot of them in this one. So I'm going to read this for disability or mental health rep. A green 9. So red 2 is fire on the cover, and I'm going to read The Camelot Code, Geeks and the Holy Grail, because this dragon is spitting out flames. This is a King Arthur retelling, and it has a bit of a time travel-y twist because our main character, Sophie, ends up back in Camelot, and Arthur ends up in the present, and I really enjoyed book 1 and have been meaning to get to book 2, so I'm totally down to read this. The third pull of this wild draw is a yellow 10. Actually, it's the 4th. I'm used to playing my game where this wouldn't count. Yellow 10 is author you love, and an author I love is Shannon Messenger. So I'm going to read Keeper of the Lost Cities, the graphic novel, part 1. I keep forgetting that I have this, and I've heard that it's really good. And so I really, really would love to dive into this and have it kind of tide me over until we get the new book in the series later this year, even though it isn't the last book like we had hoped. But this should be a nice little refresher of how Sophie's story started. Sophie is a kid who has the ability to read minds and ends up finding out there is a world of elves, and the reason she can read minds is because she is an elf, and gets whisked off to this world where she's originally from and has to try to discover who she is. I love this series. It's one of my favorites. So it seems like a no-brainer to read the graphic novel for this prompt. And the last from the first wild is going to be a yellow 8. So this was tricky, considering the first 2 series that came to mind are books I already put on my TBR. But there is one other last book in a series I do own, and that's Dark Stars. This is the 3rd and final book in the Stolen Time series. I haven't read book 2 yet, so this is going to be quite interesting. So here's hoping my wild will allow me to get book 2 on here with that wild roll. Otherwise, I will be adding that to my TBR as well. This is a series that is got time travel, and we follow a girl escaping a life she doesn't want in 1913, believing she's getting on an airplane, but finding out that she ends up in a futuristic Seattle. The pilot is trying to avoid a destiny he sees when he flies, as going through space can allow you glimpses of your own life, and we're seeing a Seattle that is underwater. I really, really enjoyed book 1. It was a reread. I finally can finish the series, so I guess I'm doing it in May. Our second wild roll, of course it does. It gets us a 6, so let's go for 6 more. A red 7. So the prompt for red 7 is 5 or more words in the title, and I'm going to go with a death of no importance. This is 5 words. This is the start of a cozy mystery series, and it takes place in New York City in 1910. And we're following Jane, who's perfected the art of serving as a lady's maid and works for the Benchley family, who are dismissed by the elite as new money and who cause outrage when their daughter Charlotte becomes engaged to notorious eminent playboy Norrie Newsome. But when Norrie is found murdered at a party, Jane discovers she is uniquely positioned to find the killer. So we're going to see her try to figure out what happened to Norrie and who done it. This is very different to some of the other books I picked, which is why I picked it, because I feel like I have a lot of fantasy and maybe not quite as many mysteries. So we'll see if I enjoy this one. Next is a red 6. So the prompt for red 6 is a short book, and I'm going to go with Unicorn of the Sea by Ben Clanton, because, I mean, I don't think we get much shorter than that. And I've heard some good things about this, so yeah. We're going to go with this one. Next, a blue 11. So my favorite genre is obviously fantasy, so for this I'm going to read Dog Squad by Chris Grabenstein. I've read other books by this author, and this one has a dog POV, which is one of my favorite tropes in fantasy. So we're going to see if I enjoy this one. Hopefully I do. Next is a red 8. I feel like I could have done this prompt multiple times over at this point. A red 8 is a standalone, so I'm going to go with This Time Next Year. This is another one of my book haul revisited books, which is a romance, and it says, how many chances to meet your perfect match? I don't know if I'm going to love this. I'm very picky about my romances, but I've been putting it off for a long time. So here's to May, maybe being the month I finally read it. 2 more. Well, maybe I'm getting all of these out now so I don't get them when I play my actual TBR game. So I can literally pick any prompt I want, as long as I haven't already used it twice. I'm going to go with Green 11 and go with Young Adult, so I can read Twisted Fates, which is the second book in the series that I need to finish. I think that makes the most sense, don't you all? And the last for this wild is a red 9. Red 9 is Book You've Been Avoiding. Let the Sky Fall. So this is written by Shannon Messenger, but it involves a tornado, and I'm terrified of tornadoes, so I keep putting this book off. So yeah, we're going to see if I can get to it in May. I doubt it, because I've been avoiding it, and it is on an ever-growing pile of possibilities, but These will be my first options to go to for my Phase 10 games, so we'll see, maybe. Okay, my next wild roll is a 5, because I wouldn't have it any other way. We're going to move this 8 over here so I can stack the numbers up there. Next is a yellow 10. So yellow 10, as we established earlier, is author you love. I love Aaron Hunter, and I'm going to go with the Ultimate Guide. I've read the updated version, but now let's read the OG version and see how similar it is to the updated version, or if I learn anything new in this one. Red 10. So Red 10 is highest rated, and I refuse to read my highest rated because it's a Christmas book, and I'm going to read that in December. So my second highest rated is Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. All I know is this is a romance, and it has something to do with curses and fate. I've heard a lot of really good things about this author, so we're going to see. It may or may not get read in May because this is getting ridiculous. So, future Chris here. I realized shortly after I got done filming that the book I picked for highest rated, Just for the Summer, is actually book 3 in a series. It was not listed on Goodreads the day I filmed, but like the next day it was. So I'm not going to read book 3 when I haven't read book 1 or 2. So my next highest rated, that is not my Christmas novella and is not part of that series, is definitely 100% a standalone, and it is 999, The Extraordinary Young Women of the First Official Jewish Transport to Auschwitz. And this is about nearly 1,000 young, unmarried Jewish women, some of whom are teenagers, who board a train in Slovakia believing they're going to a work factory only to end up in Auschwitz. And we kind of get to hear their stories after only a few of them ended up surviving. And I don't know much else about it, but it sounds like it's going to be really impactful and teach me a lot of things. So I'm not really upset about that. And I think it will work out just fine to replace the prompt, because obviously I did not know at the time of filming that that was going to be a book 3. So instead, I'm going to be reading 999 and back to past Chris to finish the video. I read 12. The prompt for Red 12 is adult, so I'm going to go with The Disappearance of Astrid Breitgard. This is a historical fiction mystery that I got from Book of the Month that sounded interesting, and Book of the Month books are pretty much almost always adult, so we'll see if I like it. A Green 11. Green 11 is YA. I'm going to go with Legend by Mary Lou. This is one I had pulled out in April for one of my possibilities for one of my somebody else gets to pick a book for me. And it didn't win, but it reminded me that I have it. I own, I believe, all 4 books in this. Well, I own 4 books, and I believe it's a 4-book series. So why not try and start this and see if I'm into it enough to want to continue? Otherwise, I can free up some shelf space. And please, please be the last one. Yellow 5. Okay. The prompt for this is one word title, and I'm going to read Stay. It was legitimately the first book that popped into my head. And it says, Piper's family moved to a homeless shelter, but Hope House brings new challenges and new friendships, including a sweet dog named Baby. And Baby feels lucky he gets to live in a park with his person, Jewel, a pack of Tool, but Jewel isn't well, and there's only so much her baby can do to help. So we're going to see Baby get torn away from her human, and I think Piper is going to help her with that. So yeah, it was legitimately the first book that came to my mind when I thought of one word title. So there is the chaos of Phase Out Your TBR. But again, the only books I actually have to read to complete my phase, because this is different from Phase 10, is this stack. So for Animal on the cover in green 2, I'm going with Beyond the Mountain. For the red 3, I have Nature on the cover, which is The Simple Art of Flying. Yellow 4 is Big Book, and I'm going to go with The Revolution of Marina M. Next, I used a wild, and I believe I picked red 5, which is paperback, and I'm reading The Game Masters of Garden Place. 6 is TBR Vet, and I'm going with If Walls Could Talk, which is Cozy Mystery. 7 is No People on the cover, and I'm going with The Untold Stories, and that would be the yellow 7. And then we have the green 8, which is High Hopes, and I'm going to be reading Witches of Brooklyn, Spell of Time. So these are the books I need to read to finish my phase, and I was going to hold up the other ones, but there are a ridiculous number of books, and I don't think I can hold them up. So just know that I have a lot of others to choose from. So that's going to be all for this video. I really do hope that you all take part. All of my social media, including my personal Discord and the Discord for the Phase Out Your TBR Readathon, will be linked in the description below. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me game emojis, something to do with some kind of game. Like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!